There's a reason why no job posting has ever felt like it could contain you. A reason why every interview leaves your soul quieter, not more alive. And a reason why, no matter how hard you work, there's a silent voice inside you whispering, "This isn't it. This was never it." Capricorn, let me speak directly to the storm inside you. You were not born to beg for positions. You were never meant to wait for someone else's approval to validate your worth. You came here into this lifetime not to apply, but to build. You were forged in the cosmic fire of Saturn, not to fit the mold, but to break it and reshape it with your bare hands. From a young age, the world taught you the script. Get in line. Work hard. Play safe. Apply. Wait. Obey. But deep in your bones, you always knew. You weren't made to follow systems. You were made to design them. You see, while others searched for jobs, you've been searching for a sense of divine responsibility. You've been feeling that pull. Not to survive, but to lead. Not to blend in, but to establish something that will outlive you. And that's why rejection after rejection didn't break you. It redirected you. It carved you. It refined your vision. Because destiny wasn't preparing you for a career. Destiny was preparing you for a legacy. So if you've been feeling like the world has no place for you, if you've been wondering why doors keep closing, why systems seem too small, why your efforts go unseen, hear this loud and clear. You weren't born to apply. You were born to build something the world doesn't have yet, but desperately needs. And today, we begin unlocking that. This message isn't about getting a better job. It's about finally understanding that your purpose was never a job at all. So stay with me, Capricorn. Because before this message ends, you'll remember who you were before the world taught you to forget. Part 1. The false life script they handed you. Capricorn, let's go back for a moment. Not to a specific place, but to a time. The moment you were handed the script. Not a literal one, but the invisible blueprint society gives every child. Study hard. Get good grades. Go to college. Apply for jobs. Work. Obey. Stay quiet. Be thankful. Retire. Fade. That script wasn't written for your soul. It was designed for control, not for calling. It was crafted to produce employees, not visionaries. To create obedience, not originality. To shape you into a cog in someone else's machine, not the architect of your own. And you tried. You did. You followed the rules. You worked harder than most. You sacrificed your health, your joy, your weekends. You dimmed your light just to not intimidate others. And still, the peace never came. Why? Because that script was never aligned with your essence. Capricorn, you are not here to simply survive in a system. You are here to design new systems. To build ladders where others only saw walls. To climb not for your own gain, but so others could rise after you. The traditional path, the one most people feel safe inside, has always felt unnatural to you. Because you were never born to walk someone else's road. You were born to pave your own, even if you have to do it in the dark, with no map and no applause. And yes, they may call you rebellious, or ungrateful, or too ambitious. But what they're really afraid of is this. You remembered the truth. You remembered that your life was never meant to be a copy of theirs. Let them follow the script. You were born to write the book. Life lesson. The world will always hand you a script that serves its own comfort. But if you want to build a legacy, you must be willing to burn the script they gave you. And write your own story, one bold, imperfect, and fiercely true line at a time. Part 2. The invisible cage you tried to call home. Capricorn, let's speak the truth others are too afraid to say. Not every prison has bars. Some are made of time cards. Some are made of business suits. Some are made of smiles you force to wear every Monday morning. You've spent years trying to make peace with the very thing that was suffocating you. You told yourself, this is just how life is. But deep inside, your soul kept whispering, this is not living. This is not you. You've walked into offices that felt more like cages than creative spaces. You've sat in meetings where your ideas were either stolen or silenced. You've stayed quiet when your voice could have redefined the direction. But you stayed. You endured. You told yourself it was responsible. Because that's what everyone else called it, responsibility. But here's the secret they never told you. What the world calls responsible, your soul might call sacrifice. And not the holy kind. The kind that trades your fire for a paycheck, your vision for structure, your legacy for approval. You weren't miserable because you were weak. You were miserable because you were out of alignment. Because the life you were living was too small for the spirit you carry. That heaviness you felt walking into those buildings, that wasn't anxiety. That was your soul telling you, you don't belong here. You never did. Capricorn, you tried to build a home in a system that was never built for you. You tried to find freedom inside a structure that only thrives when you forget your power. But power doesn't forget. It waits. It watches. And one day, it breaks out. This is the moment when your power breaks out. Because what looks like falling apart is really just the prison walls beginning to crumble. You were never meant to feel at home in the system. You were meant to outgrow it so completely that you create something new. Life lesson. Not every place that pays you deserves you. The space that contains your body but crushes your soul is not home. It's a cage. And the moment you recognize that is the moment you begin to walk free. Part 3. The gift you were forced to bury. Capricorn, before the world taught you to shrink, you were a builder. Even as a child, you organized the chaos. You found patterns in the mess. You led without asking to lead. You had a voice that didn't just speak. It carved through noise. You had a presence that didn't beg to be seen. It commanded attention without effort. But somewhere along the way, you were taught to dim, to mute, to bury what made you different in order to appear normal, to make your brilliance less threatening to others, to fold your edges in, until the only thing left was a perfectly shaped version of someone you never chose to be. Capricorn, your gift was never meant to fit inside a resume. It was never meant to be measured by KPIs or yearly reviews. Your gift is not performance. It's presence. It's not about skill alone. It's about the vibration you carry, how your energy restructures every space you enter. But the world isn't built to reward what it cannot understand. So instead of celebrating your calling, it tried to convert you into someone manageable, predictable, controllable. So you played the part. You took the job. You nodded through meetings. You wore the mask. But inside, you kept hearing it. That voice. That dream. That vision that refused to die. Capricorn, you didn't lose your gift. You buried it. Because it felt safer to hide your brilliance than to risk being misunderstood. But now, it's time to dig it back up. To dust it off. To give it breath again. Because the world doesn't need more perfect employees. It needs visionaries with scars. Leaders who've wrestled with their calling and still chose to rise. Your gift didn't disappear. It's been waiting in the shadows. And now, the shadows are thinning. Life lesson. The gifts you were told to hide are the very tools your legacy is waiting for. You don't need to discover your power. You only need the courage to unbury it. Part 4. The legacy hidden in your suffering. Capricorn, let's be honest. There are chapters of your life that still ache when you remember them. Doors that slammed shut so suddenly, you stood there stunned, holding the pieces of a dream you worked years to build. You've been let go from positions you gave everything to. You've been overlooked in moments you were most qualified. You've been told, you're not a good fit, when what they really meant was, you're too big for this space. And every time it happened, you blamed yourself. You called it failure. You wondered if you weren't enough. But Capricorn, here's a truth that will flip your entire past inside out. It wasn't failure. It was protection. It was redirection. The job that rejected you would have drained your spirit. The team that dismissed you couldn't hold your vision. The opportunity that slipped away would have kept you small forever. What felt like collapse was really construction. just hidden beneath the surface. Every closed door you faced was heaven saying, "Not here. Not like this. I've built something greater for you." You see, suffering has a strange intelligence. It doesn't come to destroy. It comes to awaken, to expose where we've been settling, to show us what we never truly needed, to strip away the counterfeit, so the authentic can rise. And Capricorn, you've risen more times than anyone saw. They don't know about the nights you cried into pillows, but still showed up with strength the next morning. They don't know how many times you almost gave up, but still kept pushing, still kept building, still kept hoping. That's not just resilience. That's the architecture of legacy, because the ones who suffer deeply are often the ones called to build what's never existed before. Life lesson. Your suffering was never meaningless. It was the chisel that shaped your soul. For a purpose only pain could prepare you for. What broke you once has now become the foundation of your legacy. Part 5. Welcome to the divine economy. Capricorn, for most of your life, you've been trading hours for dollars, energy for approval, purpose for paychecks. You were taught to believe that this was the way it works. Work hard, get paid, try not to burn out, then repeat. But what if I told you there is another economy entirely? One not built on exhaustion, but on alignment. One not controlled by corporations, but activated by calling. It's not a fantasy. It's the divine economy. And Capricorn, you were born to master it. In the old economy, you give them your time, they give you their ceiling. No matter how much of your soul you pour out, they hand you just enough to stay dependent, just enough to stay tired, just enough to stay silent. But the divine economy, it operates on entirely different laws. Here, you don't need to be chosen. You don't need a resume. You don't need permission. You need one thing only: to use what heaven already placed in your hands. A seed, a gift, a spark. You see, the farmer doesn't beg the soil for a harvest. He simply plants what he already has. He waters. He trusts. He waits. And in due time, the return is multiplied. Capricorn, your hands are not empty. You already carry the seed. Maybe it's your ability to lead. Maybe it's your voice. Maybe it's your wisdom, your craftsmanship, your intuition, your ability to build what others cannot even imagine. But you've been so busy searching for opportunities that you've forgotten. You are the opportunity. You keep waiting for a company to see you, but the divine economy is waiting for you to see yourself. You were never meant to depend on a system that limits your value to what it can extract from you. You were meant to create your own flow, a sacred, self-sustaining rhythm of giving your gift to the world and receiving back more than money: freedom, purpose, fulfillment, legacy. When you give your gift, you enter a circulation that cannot be stopped. You build value, and value begins to chase you, not because you're lucky, but because you're in alignment. Life lesson. The world's economy may reward survival, but the divine economy responds to purpose. You don't need to chase opportunity. You only need to plant your gift and trust the law of divine return. Part 6. 3 signs it's time to stop applying and start building. Capricorn, the universe doesn't always speak in thunder. Sometimes, it whispers in patterns, repeats the same message in silence, until you finally decide to listen. You've been trained to normalize the discomfort, to see closed doors as bad luck, missed calls as personal failures, burnout as a badge of honor. But if you slow down and look closely, you'll realize the signs have always been there. You were never meant to apply for your purpose. You were meant to activate it. Here are 3 unmistakable signs that the season of applying is over, and the season of building has arrived. Sign 1. Rejection feels familiar, but no longer feels painful. You used to take every rejection personally. Each we've decided to move forward with another candidate. Used to shake your self-worth. But lately, it's different. You don't feel broken. You feel unbothered. Almost relieved. That's not apathy. That's alignment pulling you away from anything that tries to place a limit on your soul. When rejection stops hurting, it's not because you've lost hope. It's because your spirit already knows. You were never meant to be there. Sign 2. Every opportunity feels smaller than your vision. You look at job descriptions, and you feel an instant resistance. Not because you think you're above the work, but because deep down, you've seen something bigger. You read the titles, the bullet points, the responsibilities, and you can't help but think, this isn't it. This can't be all there is. That's not arrogance. That's your calling reminding you that you weren't made to fit into their mold. You were made to break it. Sign 3. The energy you gave them is dying inside you. You show up, but your spirit doesn't. You log in, but your soul logs out. You do what's asked, but the fire you once had is fading. Capricorn, that's not laziness. That's spiritual misplacement. You're not disengaged because you've changed. You're disengaged because the space no longer honors who you're becoming. And that's the greatest sign of all. You're evolving past their container. Life lesson. When the system no longer excites you, when rejection feels like redirection, and when your energy no longer thrives under someone else's rules, you're not failing. You're awakening. And the time to build has finally come. Part 7. The blueprint within you. Capricorn, if you've made it this far, it's not because you're curious. It's because deep down, you already know. You already know you were made for more. You've known it in quiet moments, in the silence after rejection, in the calm that followed disappointment, in the fire that never quite went out. No matter how dark the tunnel got, you're not lost. You're misaligned. And the reason the world hasn't hired you for your purpose is because your purpose doesn't require a hiring process. It only requires your permission. So how do you begin? How do you walk away from the system and step into the sacred blueprint you were born with? Let's go there now. Step 1. Identify the gift you keep ignoring. What do people come to you for, without even thinking? Clarity, strategy, emotional wisdom. Are you the one who brings calm when chaos breaks loose? Do your words land with more weight than you realize? Do your hands fix what others can't even see is broken? The world may have called it nothing special, but heaven placed it in you for a reason. It's the root of your legacy. The clue isn't in what you do for money. It's in what you would still do, even if no one paid you. Step 2. Give the gift form. A blueprint is only potential until it becomes structure. Capricorn, this is your realm. You are not just a dreamer. You are a builder. Once you've named your gift, start giving it shape. If your gift is your voice, record, write, speak. If it's healing, study, offer, mentor. If it's leadership, create systems, guide others, build teams. You don't need a business plan to begin. You need movement. Faithful action. The first brick. The clarity will come as you build. Step 3. Plant 1 seed a day. This is where most stop, because they think the blueprint must become a mansion overnight. But Capricorn, you know better. You know the power of compound action. You know that mountains are moved one stone at a time. So begin. 1 post, 1 lesson, 1 offer, 1 moment of courage per day. That's how you build a legacy, not in leaps, but in layers. Step 4. Detach from the old timeline. Let go of the pressure to prove you're doing it right. Release the need for it to happen fast. Your path is not measured by the pace of others. It is measured by the depth of alignment. You don't need to arrive. You need to return. Return to the gift. Return to the inner voice. Return to the work that lights something eternal inside you. Because once you're in that place, money finds you. Peace finds you. Opportunities knock not because you chased them, but because you built something worth finding. Life lesson. Your purpose was never hiding from you. It's been whispering all along, waiting for you to stop running in circles. and start building the center. The blueprint is already within you. All that's missing is your decision to begin. Part 8. Building a legacy versus building a living. Capricorn, this is where the path forks. On one side is what the world taught you to chase. A living, stability, safety, a bi-weekly paycheck, a system where the value of your soul is reduced to hours clocked and tasks completed. On the other side is what your soul has always whispered for. A legacy, impact, freedom, a deeper kind of wealth, the kind that outlives you, the kind that changes others because you dared to become who you truly are. And now the question is no longer, what should I do? The real question is, who do I want to be remembered as? A living can be taken, a job can vanish, a title can be erased, but a legacy writes your name into the future. Capricorn, you've always had the heart of a builder, not just of structures, but of meaning, not just of income, but of impact. You're the one who lays bricks that others walk on decades later, and you do it in silence, without applause, because it's not about being seen. It's about building something that matters. You weren't made for the shallow waters of survival. You were made to plant roots in eternity. The world will tell you, just get by, play it safe, take what you can get. But your spirit knows, if all you do is build a living, you will always feel like something is missing, because it is. Your gift didn't come to keep you afloat. It came to build the ark. The kind of ark that carries others, that makes room for the broken, that becomes a shelter for the next generation. And yes, it's harder. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it will test you. But you were made for tests. Saturn is your ruler. You were built for pressure, for responsibility, for the long road that others can't walk. You will not build fast, but you will build forever. Life lesson. A living ends with you. A legacy begins with you, but it keeps growing long after you're gone. If you build only for income, you'll die with a salary. But if you build from your purpose, you'll live on as a story, a seed, a system that changes lives. Conclusion, the sacred decision. Capricorn, the truth has been waiting for you. Not outside, not in an office, not in the approval of a boss, but within you this entire time. You weren't born to apply. You weren't born to wait in lobbies. You weren't born to shrink into job titles that can't hold your brilliance. You were born to build, to lead, to rise through the ruins, to take every closed door and turn it into a blueprint, to take every no and carve it into a higher yes. And now you stand at a sacred threshold. On one side is the old life, predictable, safe, acceptable, but small, silent, draining. On the other side is the life your soul has been craving, unscripted, uncomfortable, but true. You don't need permission. You don't need one more rejection to wake you up. What you need is the decision to stop asking, who will give me a chance? And start declaring, I was born to create my own. So Capricorn, before you scroll away, seal this moment. Write these words in the comments right now. I am no longer applying. I am building a legacy. Say it out loud. Whisper it to your future self. Let your past self hear it and know, we're not going back. Let this be the day you stop surviving and start constructing something eternal. And if this message found you at just the right time, then this was never a coincidence. It was a confirmation. Because your soul already knew. Now your mind knows too. Capricorn, this is your moment. And if you want to keep walking this higher path with clarity, depth, and cosmic truth, subscribe to Zodiac Secrets Revealed. Because this is not the end. This is where your legacy begins.